"6:15, this is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Ramesh Piris and read by Niranjan Abesundara. The President to address the nation on Wednesday. The Prime Minister engaged in religious observances at the historic Jai Shri Mahabodhi to invoke blessings on the country and the people. Maradana, Fort, Petta, Slave Island and Dan Street isolated from tomorrow. 25 police areas in Colombo and Gampa in lockdown to continue. COVID-19 recoveries on the rise. Sri Lankans stranded overseas to arrive from next week. 2 main bus stands to resume operations. In world news, Asia-Pacific nations signed the world's biggest trade deal. Sports news is tennis. ATP Finals 2020, Rafael Nadal and Novak Djokovic head field in London farewell. The President's Media Division said today President Gotabaya Rajapaksa will address the nation on Wednesday, November 18th. Moreover, the PMD said the special address will be broadcast at 8:30 p.m. on all television and radio channels. The Prime Minister Mahindra Rajapaksa engaged in religious observances held at historic Jai Shri Mahabodhi premises in Anuradhapura today to obtain blessings upon the country and its citizens. Thereafter, the Prime Minister met with Atamastanadhapati, Venerable Dr. Pallegam Srinivasatero, and obtained his blessings. The Premier subsequently visited the Chief Incumbent of the Ruwan Mahasaya, Venerable Pallegam Himaratnanaikathero, and paid homage to Ruwan Velisaya. Another 293 coronavirus infected persons have recovered and have been discharged from hospitals, bringing the total number of recoveries in Sri Lanka to 11,495. Accordingly, 535 COVID-19 patients, including 340 nationals, are currently receiving treatment for coronavirus at 54 facilities across the country. Meanwhile, the number of COVID-19 cases identified in the country remains at 16,583, following the detection of 392 COVID-19 patients yesterday. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. Repatriation of Sri Lankan citizens overseas, which was temporarily suspended, will resume next week, with 5 special flights dedicated to repatriate Sri Lankans from the UAE, Italy, Qatar, Kuwait and Oman. The program to repatriate Sri Lankans overseas was suspended in October due to a surge of COVID-19 cases following the detection of the Minamangala cluster. Taking various difficulties endured by these citizens into account, including the loss of employment, government officials announced it would resume the repatriation program with a key focus on the Middle East. The central bus stand, Petta, and private bus stand in Bastion Mawatha will open for operations from tomorrow. Chairman of the National Transport Commission, Sashi Balgama, said decision was reached for the benefit of individuals travelling from our station. However, he stated passengers will not be boarded from area declared as isolated. He claimed the bus driver and the conductor must wear face masks throughout the journey according to health directives. That ends local news for now.
A mother knows the pain of each member of the family. Siddhalepa, the trusted relief for aches and pains.
An effective therapy for relief from cold, sneezing, flu, headaches, swelling due to toothaches, rheumatic, discomforts, and muscular aches and pains. Siddhalepa, the Veda Mahatmya in every home.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
The commander of the Army, Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva, says more areas of the Colombo district will be under isolation orders from tomorrow. Accordingly, Maradana, Fort, Petta, Slave Island and Dam Street areas in the Colombo district will be declared isolated areas until further notice. Army Chief said the order will be lifted in effect from 5 a.m. tomorrow. Meanwhile, the isolation status in 25 police areas of the Colombo and the Gampa districts will continue from 5 a.m. tomorrow. Those areas remain high-risk areas for COVID-19. Police spokesman D.I. Jarith Rohan has said areas in the Colombo district and Canania in the Gampaha district will be locked down from 5 a.m. tomorrow, while the isolation status in 19 other police areas in both districts will continue. The Courts, Board of Investment and Export and Board approved institutes and essential services are located in the isolated areas in Colombo and Gampaha will be allowed to function despite the restriction. That was the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Vedamahatmya.
Brush your teeth twice a day for healthy teeth and gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, your trusted brands in oral care for many years.
Supiriviki Ayurvedic toothpaste for adults. Kakulu Ayurvedic toothpaste for kids. 9 Ayurvedic ingredients of Supiriviki will protect your teeth and strengthen your gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, products from Siddhalepa.
On to Watchlight, the Commissioner General of Prisons, Sushara Upuldane, has stated that leave of all prison employees has been cancelled with immediate effect. Further, all prison employees are requested to report for their respective institutions by 8 a.m. tomorrow. That came to in Watchlight. On to world news. Asia-Pacific nations signed the world's biggest trade deal. Thousands of pro-Trump protesters rally in Washington, D.C. Peru impeachment protests clashes with police turn deadly. Asia-Pacific nations including China, Japan and South Korea today signed the world's largest regional free trade agreement, encompassing nearly a third of the world's population and gross domestic product. Top officials from 15 nations that also include Australia, New Zealand and the 10-member of Association of Southeast Asian Nations inked the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership nearly a decade in the making on the final day of 37th ASEAN Summit hosted virtually by Vietnam. Thousands of supporters of U.S. President Donald Trump turned out in Washington, D.C. to back his unsubstantiated claims of voter fraud in the election. Flag-carrying demonstrators were joined by members of far-right groups including the Proud Boys, some wearing helmets and bulletproof vests. The larger peaceful demonstration saw some violence later in the evening as Trump supporters and counter-protesters clashed in several skirmishes. 2 people have died in clashes in Peru's capital Lima between police and protesters angry at the impeachment of President Martin Vizcarra. Several people were injured in the violence that saw police fire tear gas into the crowd and many of thousands. Peru has been rocked by mass protests since Congress voted on Monday to impeach Mr. Vizcarra of alleged bribery charges he denies. Speaker of the Congress Manuel Merino has taken over as interim president. And back to the headlines of the world news. Asia-Pacific region nations signed the world's biggest trade deal. Thousands of pro-Trump protesters rally in Washington, D.C. Peru impeachment protests clashes with the police turned deadly. That was world news.
Development News is brought to you by...
When Aya bought a motorbike, he bought 2 helmets. So sweet of him. I'm sure the other one is for me.
In whatever we do, we Sri Lankans are always thinking of others. When we get Munchie Super Cream Crackers, they're not just for ourselves. Munchie Super Cream Cracker. Super kiyanne nikan newe.
The Bandaranaike International Airport expansion project will commence next Wednesday, making the largest development project to commence for the year 2020. The current annual passenger movement capacity of the BIA is 6 million, while the project aims to increase capacity to 15 million per year. According to the BIA, security, efficiency and consumer services will be increased to meet the increasing passenger capacity. The Japanese government provides a loan of 34,397 million yen in order to commence the initiative. Airport and Aviation Services Private Limited also allocated 21.64 billion rupees. That was development news.
When Tati bought a new family car, it wasn't just for the 4 of us.
It's a 10-seater van. Enough for friends and relatives too.
Mummy insisted on building an extra room in our new house.
Well, you never know who'll come to stay. We need more pillows too.
When I was studying late, Nangi would come by to help.
No, I don't know physics, but I do know you need a Munchie Super Cream Cracker.
In whatever we do, we Sri Lankans are always thinking of others.
When we get Munchie Super Cream Crackers, they're not just for ourselves.
Munchie Super Cream Cracker. Super kiyanne nikan newe.
On to sports news. It's tennis. 8 of the world's best men's players will close the fragmented 2020 season with the battle to be crowned the ATP Finals champion in the event's final year in London. Spain's Rafael Nadal, searching for his first title at the end-of-season event, plays informed Russian Andrei Rublev, who is making his final debut in the evening session when the tournament starts today. World number one Novak Djokovic starts his bid for record-equaling sixth title and the first in 2015 against Argentine debutant Diego Schwartzman on Monday day session. That is sports news.
Empower your dreams with NSV Wings. NSV Wings. Recharge the high goals.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
The Port City Colombo donated 20,000 surgical masks to the Health Ministry, extending further support to the control of the spread of COVID-19. Health Minister Paithamani Arachi appreciated the Port City Colombo for donation, and she graciously reminded the previous donation made by the company during the first wave of the pandemic in April this year. The consignment was donated upon request by Mr. Basil Rajapaksa, Chairman, Presidential Task Force on Economic Revival and Poverty Eradication. That was Business News.
Business News. Sponsored by National Savings Bank. The safest place for your money.
The wait is over and it's time for you to experience happiness. It's time to remap the graph for success. It's time to rebuild your empire. It's time to initiate your entrepreneur dreams. Empower your dreams with NSV Wings. Get your 2-year personal loan for just 7% per annum, starting from 500,000 rupees to 10 million rupees. All you need is just one guarantee. NSV Wings. Recharge the high goals.
Economic news, courtesy of...
Congratulations on your promotion. When will be our treat, huh?
How about today?
Oh no, I was just joking.
It's fine. I have my LOLC credit card with me. Let's go out today.
Introducing LOLC Finance Credit Cards. Fuel the goodness in you.
The chairman of the Sri Lanka Ports Authority, General Dayal Ratnayake, said operations at the Colombo port will be steadily brought back to normal over the week, with extra staff brought in after about 30% of Sri Lanka Port Authority container terminal workers were placed in quarantine. General Ratnayake conveyed this in a statement and stated about 30% of the staff of Jar Container Terminal had to be quarantined at their homes, and added that as a result, day-to-day operations at the port was affected to some degree. The chairman stated additional skilled staff were recruited from manpower agencies, and as a result, operations are gradually getting back to normal. That was economic news.
Hello, Puta. Did you land already?
No, Amma. We're in transit and our flight got delayed.
Oh, really? How is Shani? Poor thing with her pregnancy. She might be feeling very uncomfortable. The airport must be heavily crowded because it's a season.
Amma, calm down. Everything is sorted. Why, I have my LOLC World Card with me. We are at the VIP lounge. There's nothing to worry.
Those who spread goodness radiate happiness to everyone around them. Introducing LOLC Finance Credit Cards. Fuel the goodness in you.
And on to the weather. Met Department says showers will occur at several places in the northern and eastern provinces. Showers or thunder showers will occur at several places elsewhere in the evening. Heavy showers about 100 millimeters can be expected from places in the western, Sabaragamu and northwestern provinces and in the Gaur and Mathura districts. The public are requested to take adequate precautions to minimize damages caused by temporary localized strong winds and lightning during thunder showers. That was the weather report. And back to the headline of the news. The President to address the nation on Wednesday. The Prime Minister engaged in religious observance of historic Jai Shri Mahabodhi to invoke blessings on the country and the people. Maradana, Fort, Peta, Slave Island and Dam Street are isolated from tomorrow. 25 police areas in Colombo and Gampa in lockdown to continue. COVID-19 recoveries on the rise. Sri Lankan traded overseas to arrive from next week. 2 main bus stands to resume operations. World News, Asia Pacific nations signed the world's biggest trade deal. Sports news with tennis. ATP Finals 2020, Rafael Nadal and Novak Djokovic head field in London farewell.